Hello everyone, this is Rig, and today we are going to start with a new series, the Second Urbanization. In this series, we will focus on the Second Urbanization era in ancient Indian history, which is roughly from 600 BC to about 300 BC, after which we see the rise of the Mauryan Empire. So in this series we will discuss about all the aspects of the second urbanization, starting with this episode where we will discuss the economic background that led to the second urbanization period in ancient Indian history. Introduction to Second Urbanization. The Second Urbanization 600 BC to 300 BC marks a significant era in Indian history, transitioning from the Vedic to more structured state formations. So in our last video series we have discussed about the Vedic series, where we have discussed the early Vedic and then the later Vedic period, and from this we transition towards the second urbanization period. Hence, this can be said as a period of transition. The period featured the rise of mahajanapadas, which are large territorial states indicating increased socio-political complexity. So here in this period we see the rise of mahajanapadas, which can be translated into city states, not exactly, but a rough translation is city states, and they are the large territorial states which indicate increased political complexity. Advances in literature can be seen during this period, especially with the use of iron tools. Advances in agriculture can be seen in this period, especially with the use of iron tools, which played a central role in this transformation. So from this period we find the explicit use of iron, and thus there is advancement in agriculture with the use of iron, because iron tools played the key role in agriculture. The proliferation of iron technology post 600 BC in the Ganga Yamuna Doab region signifies a shift to agrarian expansion and urban settlements. So before this period we find evidences of Chalcolithic settlements in the Ganga Yamuna area, but during the 6th century BC we find that there is agrarian expansion. People cut down the dense forest of this area and established political entities known as the Mahajanapadas. Jainism and Buddhism also emerged during this period. They were major ideological systems, and thus we get a view into the diverse cultural and intellectual milieu of the time. So this period, not only we can see the urban centers developing, but also we see ideological advancement in the form of emergence of Jainism and Buddhism. Now, economic background post 800 BC. Before we understand the factors that led to the rise of urbanization, we must understand the economic factors before the 6th century BC, which was prevalent in the subcontinent. Post 800 BC, iron technology in India expanded from weaponry to agricultural implements, significantly impacting the economic structures. So before 800 BC, the iron implements were mainly used for weaponry. There were mainly weapons made from iron. But after 800 BC, we get agricultural implements made from iron. The use of iron plowshares enabled intensive farming practices, boosting the agricultural productivity and settlement growth in the Doab region. So when iron plowshares, iron axes and iron agricultural implements came into being, we find that there is a boost in the agricultural productivity, and thus the settlement growth in the Doab region became very much prominent. Enhanced agricultural output was critical for sustaining larger populations and subsequent rise of urban centers. So people cannot survive without food, and more there is production of food, more there will be increase in population. These are directly proportional, food and population. Now, when agricultural output was enhanced, that led to the growth of larger populations, and subsequently it led to the growth in the urban centers. Iron's role in clearing dense forest and its use in making versatile tools catalyzed economic and social development. So iron was the catalyzing factor, means it enhanced the growth of civilization in the Indian subcontinent. So once iron came into being, we find catalyzing effect in the economy of the subcontinent. The dramatic increase in the number of settlement in the Doab region during this period points to economic prosperity. So there was increase in the number of settlements in the Doab region, and thus we can know that this period was very much prosperous. Iron and agriculture. What is the relationship between iron and production of food? Iron tools like axes and plowshares, by facilitating deforestation and land preparation, led to the expansion of agrarian landscape. So the Doab region, the area of Ganga Yamuna, was very much forested. Now those forests couldn't be cleared with the Chalcolithic technology, but once iron came into existence, we find that people could clear the forest with the help of iron implements, and in those areas they used to farm together, and that led to land preparation for agricultural expansion. The introduction of iron plowshare allowed for deeper tilling, transforming previously unused lands into fertile fields. So deeper tilling could have been possible only with the help of iron plowshare. The ends of the plow would have to go deep into the soil in order for proper tilling of the field, and that led to previously unused lands being cultivated again. Increased rice cultivation was possible through the techniques like paddy transplantation, which is popularly called as ropan, signified advancement in agrarian strategies. So the possibility of a new agricultural technology, which is paddy transplantation, came into being, and that is called ropan in local terms. The agricultural revolution made possible by iron tools was a cornerstone in the economic backdrop of the era. The resulting productivity surge, there was increase in the production of food in the Ganga plain, and that played a vital role in supporting the increased population of the period in second urbanization. Agricultural expansion. What were the agricultural expansions done? In what categories? The transition from Vedic fire cultivation to iron based agriculture facilitated a greater expansion of agrarian landscape. So in the Vedic age, normally agriculture was slash and burn, means we will burn down a place and in that place we will farm. But in the second urbanization period, iron based agriculture meant proper clearing of forest and proper tilling of land, and that led to production, increase in the production of food. The use of iron plowshares in the dense clayey soil of middle Gangetic plains increased the arable land area. Arable land area means the area in which cultivation could be done. So use of iron plowshares led to proper tilling of soil, and the soil in the Gangetic plain was clayey. So proper tilling of soil made it arable. Iron tools also contributed to agricultural diversity in the introduction of crops like sugarcane and mustard. So once iron tools came into being, it increased the diversity in production of foods. Many kind of crops used to be cultivated like sugarcane, paddy, wheat, mustard, etc. Names of iron tools in local languages are phala, which is plowshare. Plowshare is popularly called as phala even today. And iron, the name of iron is ayash. And khanitra means axe. So these are the proper terms in local languages for different kind of iron implements. Paddy cultivation advancement, including the transplantation method, ropana and kudhimba, which means plot of raised lands, were integral to increased yield. So a particular piece of land was raised from the land around in order to have safety in crop cultivation, and that led to the land not being affected by flooding waters. Urban centers and trade. Now, not only agriculture was the main feature of the second urbanization period, but trading was also very much prevalent. The emergence of urban centers was characterized by the growth of trade routes and craft production. So, specialized craft production came into being during this period, and since there was proper amount of craft production, people needed to trade, and that led to the growth of different kind of trade routes in between the mahajanapadas. Artisans and craftsmen, organized guilds, played a vital role in urban economies, specializing in various trades. So there used to be specific organizations for trade which are called as trading guilds, and they played the pivotal role in the controlling of trading factors and indirectly also the controlling of economy, and they used to deal in various kinds of trade with various raw materials and productions. Urbanizations facilitated the development of trade networks within and between Mahajanapadas, aiding different economic exchange. So urbanization was there, and because of urbanization different trading networks developed, and thus there was a connection and relationship between the different Mahajanapadas which led to economic exchange. The growth of these centers led to the standardization of weights and measures, and that played a crucial role for trade. Now, when every Mahajanapadas are trading with each other, then there needed to be a specific standard unit of trade. That unit can be in the form of monetary, also in the form of weights and measures also. So there was a standardization of weights and measures. Prominent urban centers were there like Rajagriha and Varanasi. These two became hubs for economic, cultural and intellectual exchange. So these areas are still now very much prominent in modern context of India, and from the ancient period they became hubs for economic and cultural exchange. Now, how did the Mahajanapadas evolve? The political landscape evolved into Mahajanapadas, including notable states like Kashi, Koshala and Magadha. So these are the notable states. There were 16 of them actually, and because of the developmental structure in the Gangetic Valley, we find the existence of Mahajanapadas in this region, and 16 of them developed by 6th century BC. Among them most important were Kashi, Koshala, Magadha. These Mahajanapadas played crucial role in the advancement of economic policies and statehood concepts. So all of the economic policies were controlled by the Mahajanapadas, and thus they played a vital role in the concept of statehood being developed. Intense rivalries and alliances between these states reflect the dynamic and competitive nature of the period. So there were many wars fought in between the Mahajanapadas, and also many alliances made with each other, and thus we get a reflection of the political dynamic in this period. Each Mahajanapada had its own governance structure which influenced its economic stability and growth. Now, every Mahajanapada did not have a king. Few were confederacies, few were very much democratic. But every Mahajanapadas had a specific type of unique government structure, and that structure helped in the development of economic stability and growth of that particular state. These states were instrumental in the shift from tribal to territorial governance, laying the groundwork for future empires. So in the later Vedic period, we find existence of tribal and territorial governance, but here we find the early stage of development in state structure, and thus it was a groundwork for the foundation of the first empire in the Indian subcontinent. Now, what was the monetary system in the Mahajanapada structure? This period saw introduction of standardization of coinage, with silver punched mark coins becoming widespread. Now, what were punched marked coins? These were coins which were made from molten metal sheets. Now, which was a metal sheet mainly of silver was made, and when it was in a soft semi-molten stage, different kind of stamps were used to punch symbols into them, and then they were cut with the thin sheet was cut with a scissor like implement in order to make different kind of geometrical structures, which came to be called as the punch marked coins. And the name punch marked coins comes because symbols were punched into them with the help of stamps like device. Coins from different Mahajanapadas bore distinctive symbols indicating diverse cultural and political identities. Now, each of these coins had different kind of symbols in them, and those symbols used to be punched. Now, every state had a different symbol, and sometimes coins used to be modified. When one state used to conquer another state, that time they used to take the the punch mark coins of the conquered state, and they used to punch their own symbols. So in many coins we find 5 to 6 symbols existing. The proliferation of coinage signified a shift towards monetized economy, making trade more efficient. So before this, in the Vedic ages, we find barter system, and also we find cows as a main form of monetary exchange. But here, for the first time, we find indigenous development of coins, and that points a shift towards the monetized economy of the second urbanization period. Punch mark coins called karshapana facilitated the accumulation of wealth and tax collection. So punch mark coins were popularly known as karshapanas, and they were the main implements of wealth, and also tax collection used to be done with the help of deposition or submission of punch mark coins to the rulers. Coins functioned as a medium for exchange and as a tool for states to control economic activities. So this functioned as a medium of exchange, and also it was a tool to control the economic activities of the state. Now, what are the agricultural techniques? We have already discussed about the agricultural expansion in the Gangetic Valley. Now, let us go through the agricultural techniques. The introduction of iron plowshare, as mentioned in early texts, reflects the significance in agricultural advancement. So, this iron plowshare has been mentioned in many of the texts of this period, and that signifies its importance in the agricultural advancements. Rice transplantation, known as ropan, became the key factor in increasing yields and supported a growing population. So rice transplantation was one of the main technological advancement of the period, and it became a key factor in supporting the huge population of the Gangetic Valley by increasing the production of agriculture. The practice of crop rotation and the concept of fallow land indicated by the term paribrajaka ensured long-term soil fertility. So there was rotational crop practices done, which means different kinds of crops will be cultivated in the same land throughout the year, and that increase the fertility of the soil. And also the concept of fallow land has been indicated by the term paribrajak. Agricultural surpluses from the efficient farming practices led to economic stability and potential for trade. Now we all know that urbanization cannot come into being unless there is a surplus in food production. So agricultural surpluses, which was a result of effective farming techniques, led to the economic stability of the period. The period saw emergence of settlements like Shravasti, which became centers of agricultural production and trade. So Shravasti was one such important urban center which became a center for agricultural production and also trade. Now trade and urban economy. What were the trading practices done, and how was the urban economy of the time? The development of trade routes facilitated the exchange of commodities such as grains, iron and handicrafts. So when there was proper existence of trade route, we come to know that people used to go from one state, one mahajanapad to another in order to survive as a trading guild. But those trading practices came with the form of exchange of commodities such as grains, iron and handicrafts. Craft production became more specialized, with regions developing specific industries documented in texts like Arthashastra. So in Arthashastra there has been written that a few areas were specialized for production of certain type of crafts. Hence we find the existence of a very much specialized craft production, where people of a certain community used to dedicate their lives towards practicing certain kind of crafts only. The rise of guilds or shreni played an important role in regulating and promoting craft specialization. So there were trading guilds, which means organization which control the economic movement of a particular commodity. So a trading guild used to function according to a specific commodity only. They used to deal with specific materials, and thus we find their role in promoting craft specialization. Increased trade led to development of marketplaces or nigama, which became central to urban life. So when there is more trade, people need to sell them in certain areas. Therefore there was existence of marketplaces, and those marketplaces were called nigama in local terms. Nigam. The economic prosperity of urban centers was reflected in the complexity and diversity of their markets and crafts. Archaeological insights into the economy. What are the archaeological evidences we find during the second urbanization? Excavations at sites like Rajagriha indicate significant use of wood construction, suggesting economic abundance. So in the site of Rajagriha we find that the construction material for forts and housing complexes was wood. So thus we come to understand that there was availability of forested land around the place from where wood cultivation or wood used to be cut. The discovery of large-scale wooden structures implies the presence of skilled labor and organized labor management. So entire forest being converted into wooden resources can only be possible when there are skilled labor who are expert in cutting trees and making of wood, and thus we get to understand that there was organized labor management in that period. Early urban sites show evidence of planned streets and drainage systems indicative of advanced urban planning. So we get evidences of drainage systems which was there before in the Harappan civilization also. Similar kind of drainage system can be evidenced in the 6th century BC, and thus it serves as an indicating factor of advanced urban planning. The use of brick in construction points to technological advancement and the existence of kiln based industries. So brick, fire baked brick can only be made when there is proper existence of kilns where mud cubes used to be burned to make bricks. Therefore we get existence of kiln based industries during the period of second urbanization. Archaeological findings including punched marked coins, tools and pottery provide direct evidence of economic activity. So we get archaeological findings like punch marked coins, different agricultural tools, pottery of different kinds, and thus there is a direct evidence of different kind of economic activities during the 2nd century BC. Coinage and monetary economy. What was the coin structure? We already know that there was existence of punch marked coins. Now let us get into the depth of monetary economy. Coinage emerged as an unifying economic factor with standardized weights and measures facilitating the trade. So there was a standardization in weights and measurement, and that served as an unifying economic factor between the different mahajanapads. Punch marked coins, locally called karshapana, provided a reliable medium for transactions across regions. So before this there was existence of barter system, and before that there was existence of the monetary form of cows, godhuma. And but in the in 6th century BC we find existence of punch marked coins. Now these coins were very much reliable medium for transaction of goods across the Mahajanapads. Coins featured various symbols such as animals, nature motifs, and religious icons representing the cultural ethos of the issuing states. So few of the state had specific symbols of their own, and those symbols were mainly nature motifs, religious icons, and also different kind of animals. So one animal was probably indicative of a certain type of Mahajanapada, and thus we can understand that coins, the symbols in coins represented the cultural ethos of the issuing states. The use of coins led to development of money lending practices, and a class of money lenders known as Shetty Sanghapatti became very much popular. So when there are coins, we can understand that people used to lend coins from the wealthy people, and those wealthy people became converted into money lenders, and money lenders were called as Shetty Sanghapati in local terms. The spread of coinage marks the beginning of monetary economy, increasing the ease of commerce and tax collection. So tax collection in the form of produce was very much hectic. Suppose a farmer is farming paddy, but the state wants a portion of the paddy as tax. But when the state comes to collect the tax, paddy may have been destroyed, they may have been affected by flood, or the farmer may not be willing to give, and transportation was also very much hectic. Therefore, when there was coinage system, for the first time in Indian subcontinent there was coinage system, and that led to easiness in doing business and also ease of commerce and tax collection. Now, literary evidence of the economic practices. What are the literary evidences we find basing on the monetary structure and the commercial exchange of the period. Textual references from the period, including Ashtadhyayi of Panini, provide insights into economic terms and practices. So, Ashtadhyayi of Panini gives us a lot of information regarding the economic terms and practices prevalent in the 6th century BC. The Arthashastra by Kautilya, which is a much later Mauryan text, outlines the economic policies, statecraft, and role of trade and markets in the economy. So, Arthashastra is a very much popular book by Kautilya, which entirely focuses on the economic practices of the period, and also it deals with policies, politics, dynamics of statecraft, etc. So from the Arthashastra we get to know a lot about the trade and markets of the period. Literary sources such as Pali text and Sutras provide contemporary accounts of agricultural trade and urban practices. So the Pali text and also the Sutras give us a lot of information about the agricultural trade and the urban practices of the period. These texts reveal the significance of vocational specialization and guilds in the economic structure. So there was existence of different trading guilds and vocational specialization during the time of second urbanization. Literary evidence underscores the transition to a more complex and organized economic system during the second urbanization. Now, how was the urban infrastructure and development? Urban centers featured well-planned infrastructure such as roads, irrigation system to support economic activities. So, there were different technologies used while developing a particular city, and those technologies are use of proper roads, irrigation system for farming, and these in turn support the economic activities of an urban structure. The construction of fortified cities with walls and moats indicates the economic investment in urban security and stability. So cities were mainly fortified and it had moat around them. Moat means a channel of water around them, so that intruders before going into the city will face difficulty in crossing the water channel, and that was a mode of security implied by the urban infrastructure of the 6th century BC. The presence of granaries and other storage facilities reflect the importance of managing agricultural surplus. Now, we know that there was a surplus in the production of agriculture. Now, this surplus needed to be stored properly for later use, and for the proper storing of the agricultural surplus, we find existence of granaries and other storage facilities. Pits were also used for proper storage sometimes. Archaeological evidence of workshops and kilns points to the central role of manufacturing in urban economy. So there was proper workshops dedicated to proper kind of economic activity. The development of infrastructure underscores the integration of economic functions within urban planning. So the economic functions of the period used to be integrated within the urban planning of a particular city. Now, impact on social structure. What was the impact on the social structure of the period? The economic changes brought about by the second urbanization had profound effects on the social structure. The growth in trade and craft production led to the rise of new social classes, including merchants and artisans. So there was growth in trade, and the factor of urbanization led to the development of new communities of social classes, and they were merchants and artisans. Merchants were people who used to deal with trade, and artisans were people who used to deal with different kind of material productions. Increased wealth and the spread of coinage led to greater social differentiation and emergence of wealthy elites. Now, when there was increase in the monetary system of coinage, we find that there was more differentiation in social structure, and thus emergence of wealthy people came into being. The emergence of urban centers created a demand for administrative and professional services, giving rise to a class of bureaucrats. Now, when there is an urban system, you need people who will help in the proper administration and governance of the system, and that gave to the rise of bureaucracy for the first time in the Gangetic Valley. The transition from primarily agricultural communities to urban societies altered the dynamics of social hierarchy and mobility. Now, there was a transition from agricultural communities to urban societies, and that altered the dynamics of social hierarchy in the period. Now, overview. Here we will go through a discussion regarding everything we have learned in this presentation. The second urbanization period was characterized by major economic advancement driven by iron technology and agricultural expansion. The rise of urban centers and mahajanapadas facilitated the development of trade networks and standardized economies. So, for the first time, we find trade networks in the Gangetic Valley, and that was possible because of standardization in weights and measures. The introduction of coinage system and the growth of trade signified the emergence of complex monetary economy. So, for the first time we find use of coins in the Gangetic Valley, and thus we find emergence of a complex monetary economy. Textual and archaeological evidence together paint a detailed picture of the economic transformations during this period. So, unlike Harappan economy, we don't have to only depend on archaeological evidences. We have a lot of textual evidences from this period also, and the textual and archaeological evidences together help us in understanding the economic transformation which happened during the period of second urbanization. The economic development of second urbanization laid the foundation of future prosperity and cultural achievements of a classical Indian civilization. So, this was a foundational stage for the cultural achievement and classical structure of Indian civilization. So, that was all about the introduction towards the rise of 16 mahajanapadas. In our next video, we are going to go deep into 6th century BC, what kind of economic practices was there, what kind of politics used to be played during that period, and what was the basis as a transitional phase which led to the rise of empire. So this video was an introductory video. Please follow the next upcoming videos regarding the second urbanization. Thank you so much, and as usual support me so that I can bring brighter contents in future. Thank you.